Well, hello yet again. It's another Sunday and we've got some more Tetris to play. And that sounded uncomfortable for some reason, and I don't know why. And I'm still talking like this, and it's getting weird, and I hope I'm not making anyone uncomfortable. Okay, I'll stop. Yeah, so we're back for another Sunday chill screen. We're going to hang out. We're going to rank some Tetris games. I've got 3 more to go, and at this point, we're into the 2000s, and there's a bit of a shake-up coming up. And then once the dust clears on that shake-up, we're going to hit a period of pretty steady growth, and so we're also getting like 20 years away from the original games. It's going to be a whole lot easier to sort of put stuff higher on the list, just given the amount of time and development experience, and yes, technology to some degree has come to pass. For right now, just take a quick look at the rankings here. We can see Tetris DX still holding strong at number 1, Tetris Plus all the way at the bottom, and some stuff in between. And so this week we start with a game that I've already played once before on this channel and already talked about, probably one of the most controversial Tetris games, and that is Tetris Worlds. We're playing the Game Boy Advance version. I have played the home console version for GameCube since the last time I did this one, and so I can sort of speak a little to the differences between the two, but for now, that's not a big concern. We're just going to jump right in here. And, ooh. Okay, yeah. I was having some issues there with the headphones. And I want to just bring the sound effects down a little. Music's fine where it is. Just random Tetris theme. Faster. Minuet. Square dance. Oh, okay, yeah. There we go. There's the correct music. And so, of course, we're going to turn the ghost piece off and hold off because I'm not a big fan, but they are there. We do have access to them now. And we're going to start with Marathon. We can do this the traditional way. Play some... Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different game modes. I'll be honest with you. The new ones are not very good. Most of these, I believe, are also in the console version. And I think there's also like a... never mind. Clear lines to reach goal. I'm going to switch screens here. Clear lines to reach goal. When the goal is reduced to 0, the level will increase. Complete all 15 levels to win the game. Okay, and so that's important, because one of the big differences they made here is that lines are not the same as points in this game. So they're weighted, meaning that a single line is worth 1 point, but a double is worth 3, a triple is worth 5, and a Tetris is worth 7? I think that's how it works. So yeah, so 1 Tetris and we already leveled up. And this game was... Well, we'll go into the details as we go. We don't need to go over everything right away. As you can see, we got decent wall kicks here. Lateral movement pretty good. Hard drop and soft drop. Oop. Hard drop is very responsive, as it turns out. Controls feel a little sluggish at the moment. It's tough to say if that's a emulator thing or not. I've played this game a lot, and it is a little wonky. But, you know, so it goes. Still very playable. And frankly, I would say this version probably better than the console version. I think, I mean, if you were really determined to sit down and play some Tetris Worlds, which you're probably not, the console version obviously looks and sounds a whole lot better than this. But as far as how it plays, it's about the same. There are certain details I'm not so sure about, though, because I know in the console version there's like a countdown clock that resets every time you level up. And since we're on level 5 and now the goal is 25 points, so like the goal increases by 5 every level, which I believe is sort of the main reason why they went with the weighted scores. And yeah, so on the console version, there's a countdown clock that resets with every stage you clear. And if you clear the stage before the countdown clock hits 0, your rank goes up. And so there's a little indication on the screen that sort of shows your rank alongside your, you know, your current level. And so that's one thing I'm not 100% sure of, is if that same rule applies here, but they just don't show you the clock, or if they are actually ranking your performance differently. Because these are the kinds of things that keep me up at night, that my therapist tells me I really need to let go of. And so as you can see, we now have 3 next windows. And of course, this game would also have, you know, the ghost piece and the hold queue if I turned those on. I probably should have left them on just to demonstrate them. I'll have to do that at some point. Well, I mean, they're going to be in all the games moving forward, so we'll have plenty of time to show off that stuff. I just have a habit of turning them off, and you know, if I'm going to put the game through its paces, that's how I'm going to do it. Oops. And the other thing, well, there's a few other things. The other thing, for now, when we get into this game in particular, I believe we're now into the era of sort of balanced piece distribution, or what has sort of been referred to since as 7-bag, which is where the game will take all of the pieces and sort of shuffle them around. And how do I explain this? It'd be like, basically, it's, instead of full random, it's like they take every piece, stick it in a bag, shuffle the bag, and then sort of distribute those. And then shuffle it again once they've cycled through all the pieces. I know 14 bag is also a thing you don't see as much. And so this does take some of the challenge away. There's a lot less dependency on luck, because you know certain pieces are definitely going to be showing up within a certain time frame. And you also can generally know how many duplicates to expect. You probably won't get the same piece 4 times in a row pretty much ever. And the same thing, you can look at the queue over on the corner of the screen. You can see that, like, doubles are pretty rare, triples pretty much don't happen in this game. And so, like I said, what that mostly just means that your dependency on pure luck to get through is significantly reduced. You can strategize a little more. You can set up moves a little more without having to worry quite so much. And I think that, along with changes they made to the controls, which we'll get into, because that's the changes they made to the controls were fairly controversial at the time. But between all of that stuff, they made a game that is, well, for one thing, a fair bit easier, but also, for our purposes here, sort of encourages you to make, you know, kind of bolder plays. You don't have to play safe as much as you did with older Tetris games, because, you know, you're not as fearful of suddenly getting denied the piece that you might need several moves later. You can plan a little more. And I believe we're also, if not now, then very soon we're into the area where they start rewarding T-spins. So that's going to be fun. I'm real bad at T-spins. If the situation occurs naturally, I can definitely spin the piece into place. But if I need to set it up myself, no way. That's kind of how I've always been, but you know. I play Tetris for enjoyment, so the idea of like sitting down and like intensely practicing a particular move doesn't sound fun to me. Well, I like to think I'm pretty good at the game, but I would also say, yeah, I'm only as good as you can be if you're not actively trying to get better. And at this point, I'm kinda not. I'm happy with my skill level at Tetris. Yeah, I boast from time to time, but it's mostly in jest. Yeah, so we're up to level 11 now, and have quite the substantial goal needed in order to get to level 12. This does stop at 15, by the way, so level 15 being sort of the standard is kind of established around this point. So we're sort of past the era now of like Tetris games, like the level increasing indefinitely. Unless it still does on the console, and I can't remember. I got the GameCube version working on my computer, and it ran like crap. And that's offline, that's before you add in all the streaming stuff. So we're not going to be ranking that one, just because it's not fair to the game. to have to rank it in poor conditions. But like I said earlier, between the two, I actually think this is probably the one you want to play anyway. Still gotta keep one curious thing about this game, and really the only thing I would really say kind of bothers me, well, I shouldn't say that, there's probably other things about this that if I played a lot of it I'd complain about a whole bunch of things, because I do like to complain. I'm a big complainer. But like, one thing I find is that, because in later games, when you're waiting for the piece to lock into place, you can hit up on the D-pad, right? You can hit the hard drop button, and it'll lock instantly. And it doesn't do that in this. So sometimes I'm trying to, you know, maybe hit the D-pad a little ahead of the next piece that's about to drop, just get it ready to be in place. And you really have to wait for this game, you really have to wait for the previous piece to lock into place before you do that. Otherwise, like, the block that's still in play will stay in play for a bit longer. And that's part of the controversy. Like I said, I don't know why I'm teasing it so much. I'm pretty sure everybody knows. Well, probably not. People who are as obsessed with Tetris as I am know the story. It was a bit of a meme for a while, but we'll get into all of that as we go along here. And this does kind of instill a bit of a habit of like having to like stop and wait between each piece. So I can sort of understand why like the super fans of Tetris were not fond. But I gotta be honest with you, I think in hindsight, I mean, this is certainly a fascinating game. Again, if you're as weirdly obsessed with Tetris as I am, it's fascinating. If not, it's probably all seems like dumb minutia. But, rolled up, so 69. Yep. Okay, so the score requirement doesn't get quite as ridiculous as I remember, which is good. Because it was a bit... The way I was imagining this was always a bit nuts. Oops, that is really not what I wanted to do. One other little trick. If the piece is positioned in such a way that it can't move, then you can sort of hit the D-pad a little earlier, and the next piece will just come down, and you can give it that just that teeny bit of input buffering that I don't think this game actually buffers inputs, but either way, like, you're kind of already in motion, which is the part that matters. Okay. I will agree, this isn't a pretty looking game. I do think it gets a bad rep though, or at least a worse rep than it deserves. Because they did... I think they made some mistakes in where they went with this. But again, some of that, I mean, I'm sort of a combination of, you know, sound bites, quotes from this or that. I haven't done like super hard research on like the development of Tetris Worlds to know exactly what their intentions were. But I firmly believe that they were inspired by the Grandmaster. I think that's what they wanted to do, was make a version of that would be, you know, approachable to a wider range of players. And it is an eternal frustration of mine that I can't get the Grandmaster running on my computer. 'Cause that's a game, that is a significant part of the sort of Tetris story, is what they did in that game was wild. And it's on Arcade Archives now if you want to play it on modern consoles. They also have the sequel, Tetris the Absolute Grandmaster 2 Plus. Congratulations! You are a 7th degree Tetris master. I want to know, is that better or worse than being a 6th degree Tetris master? I really wish they were more specific on that stuff. So there you go. Time, 18 minutes and 33 seconds. And so now we're going to go into Ultra. So this is 2-minute level challenge. So, and we'll try a couple of these other ones. Sticky. So I'm going to show you now what all the controversy was about. Looks the same color, stick together, clear the bottom row of stars to increase level before time expires. Okay, so here's the big controversy. I am holding down the A button. I guess it's not showing real well here. Let's just drop that. Okay, here you go. You can see it now. I'm holding down the A button. This piece is never going to lock into place. There's a delay on how long it takes to lock, and rotating the piece resets that delay time. So if you just keep spinning, the piece never locks. And this was a massive issue. There was an outrage over this. For people who don't recall, there was even a meme that said, "They broke Tetris," started by, I think it was actually Ryan Davis and Jeff Gerstmann, who at the time were still working at GameSpot. Which one's the website? GameSpot? GameSpot was the website. Okay. And just made a video sort of demonstrating how you could do that and essentially remove all challenge from the game, because anytime you couldn't think of where to put a piece, you could just hold it in place forever. And so if you look at the way the game is built, I think the counterpoint to that is, of course, that... Okay, so that's how you level up in this. The counterpoint to that notion... Hey, the timer reset. Okay, oh, that's how Ultra's gonna work. Okay, never mind, I got you now. So yeah, so if you don't clear the stage within 2 minutes, it's game over. That's actually more interesting than I was expecting. I totally forgot that that's how it worked. So yeah, credit for that. Cool idea. Anyway. So, as I've mentioned before, like, this game is really big on speed. Speed and efficiency. They want you to play well, and they want you to make big moves. And so, the decision for the lock delay to be absolutely infinite, the way that it is, basically, it eats up your time. Right, and that's sort of why I didn't want to do that while I was, like, playing the game seriously. It's because it would kind of eat up all the time. I would get a worse ranking as a result, even just to show it off. But yes, so that, I think that was the general idea, because if you've ever played any of the Tetris the Grandmaster games, they're quite difficult. They are not approachable by a wide range of players. And so I think the decision to sort of encourage that same kind of fast play, but also make the game simultaneously more forgiving, I think that's what they were aiming for. And also, just look at this, quit from the pause menu, next gen. Okay, let's hop into Fusion here. And so in Fusion, all we're trying to do is get these little pieces to fuse to that one at the bottom. And in later stages, we're going to have to clear stuff out to make that happen. That alien has a weird haircut. You see, when you clear rows, they sort of partially disappear. Like I said, the extra modes in this, not my favorite. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the supplementary gameplay modes they added to this. But basically, the miscalculation that they made, in my opinion, is that, you know, they tried to make a game that would encourage a certain style of play. And they succeeded in that respect. The problem is that for most casual players, they're not interested in playing that way. People who play Tetris casually, generally, maybe they're interested in their score, maybe not, probably not. But they're really not interested in speedrunning. So the decision to make a game where... Oh, come on. I'll have to start filling in some of these gaps. Trying to cascade this stuff a little bit. Making a game, like I said, making a game where your clear time matters that much, casual players just didn't care. And so what ended up happening was this whole system where, you know, the main deterrent from abusing the infinite lock delay was that it eats into your clear time. No one cares about their clear time, so no one cares about the deterrent. So, shock of all shocks, they weren't deterred from abusing it. And the game didn't land with hardcore players either, because a lot of them had already gotten accustomed to playing Tetris at high speeds. And convincing them that the lock delay was at all useful was a bit of an uphill battle to begin with. The fact that lock delay was infinite was just... it just really didn't land for anyone, so... they created a Tetris variant that just did not appeal to any players. Hotline, what's hotline? Clear the lines on the indicators. Higher indicators mean bigger goal reduction. Okay, yeah, so this is fine. Variations on this appear in newer games. Yeah, that's all you gotta do. And so, basically they made a version of Tetris that, in their attempt to make something that would appeal to a wide audience, they accidentally made a game that didn't appeal to anyone. Because it just didn't read the room correctly. And in my opinion, that's a bit of a shame, because I think this game is interesting, to say the least. But at the same time, you know, they kind of... I think the Tetris company, the people making these Tetris games, they sort of walked back a lot of these decisions not long after. It didn't take them long to figure out, hey, we gotta right the ship here, because people were not happy. And even after they righted the ship, in my opinion, people continued to not be happy for years. The phrase "Tetris is dead to me" stuck around as a mimetic phrase for nearly a good decade after this game came out. People were still saying it when Tetris Axis came out. Yeah, I think that's a bit much, personally. So yeah, we got options here. Default, snow, mountain, forest, air, fire, water, random. So those... and like I said, we got all of this stuff. We got credits. And there is a cheat code for... crap, I cannot remember what the code is, but there is a cheat code to play something called popular mode. Which... oh yeah, and there's also a thing where you can make that background spin faster. Thrilling. Can we make it spin the other way? There it goes. So yeah, popular mode is basically Tetris DX. And I'm a little annoyed that you have to put in a cheat code to get it. That's how I played this game mostly back when I had a DS Lite, and I had this on Game Boy. Like, we're talking box copy with a manual and everything. But yeah. So, I think we can call that here for now. So, let's head back over to rankings, shut this down. And so, man, with all the controversy, with all the stories behind this, with all the everything, where does it rank? And I don't think it ranks... I would personally put it in the middle here. I think it's in this range, in we'll say this range. Because I would rather play this than Game Boy Tetris or NES Tetris. For me, I think I would put it at number 3, but I don't think it belongs there. I think my attachment to this game is in large part kind of Gotta stop covering my mouth when I talk. I think, like, for me, my fascination with this game is largely as a curiosity, as this kind of offshoot of how, like, Tetris is usually meant to work. It is this strange deviation. And it's probably not as good as I would consider it to be, because I like this game. But it's got problems, and I think I've made that point 7 different ways already. Is it better or worse than Tetris Plus? Is it better or worse than Magical Tetris Challenge? Again, I prefer it. But no it isn't. Whoop, and I almost dropped the controller. No, it isn't. It's gonna be our new number 6 here. Tetris Worlds Game Boy Advance. And, ooh, we now have to scroll the list. Yeah. And the GameCube version, aesthetically better, looks better, sounds better, but it also has like a lot of like weird, superfluous, unnecessary stuff grafted. There's a story mode for some reason in the console version. I think I would put the handheld above the console version, personally. And yeah, so I'm trying to think of my time frame here, because there was a Tetris game for the Xbox 360 called Tetris Splash that feels like a pretty direct follow-up to Tetris Worlds, and it is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. I know in Japan, Xbox got a Japan exclusive version of the Grandmaster 3. I really wish that came over here, man. Oh, I would have played the crap out of that. But unfortunately, because of the advances in technology, it's going to be that much harder to play certain games in the series, which means we're unfortunately jumping ahead to more handheld games. Well, fortunate for me, because I love portable games, but unfortunate in the sense that we do have to skip a bunch of stuff, and that's a damn shame. But as soon as this loads, we're now into Nintendo DS territory with Tetris DS, and this, I'll just try to keep the audio is just real good on this. So I didn't see the copyright date. I'm just going to reset this quickly. 2006. Right, so we're jumping ahead from 2001 to 2006 with Tetris DS. And this is, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are waiting very excitedly for this one to come up. The standard catch, mission, puzzle, touch, push. Right, what's standard here? Marathon, line clear versus CPU, tutorial. So we're getting into, like, this is now fully featured territory. Marathon level, we can start as high as level 5. Okay, and so yeah, so here I left the ghost piece on so you can see that. And all it's doing It's just highlighting where the block is going to land. And then we'll also highlight, boom, you hit one of the shoulder buttons and you take a piece and it goes into that little hold window, which is shown separately from your next windows. And so what that allows us to do is we got this piece coming up, we can swap it out for that line piece. Boom, another Tetris. And so that just lets you strategize a little more. People often ask me, well, why don't you like it? Why do you never use the hold piece? And the truth is, I just get distracted by it. Again, I've played a lot of like old school Tetris, and especially there was a Mac Tetris game, I think it was called Tetris Extreme, almost certainly unlicensed. As you see, there's lots of cool stuff going on up on the top screen here. Now, one thing that always did kind of annoy me about this game, I do find the soft drop a bit slow. You know, for whatever that's worth to anyone. I also really like the look up there with like the old 8-bit sort of NES graphics, but with like sort of photorealistic backgrounds. It's kind of a nice look. Anyway, continue, restart, end. So again, I forgot to go into the options menu. So now that I've shown that stuff, hard drop on. We'll turn ghost piece off. Music. Okay, it's just a sound test. So we can turn off the ghost piece. We can't turn off hold. So if you don't want to use hold, you just have to kind of not push the L button. Which is a bit of a choice, I suppose. Anyway, we're gonna try Mission Tetris now. Marathon, time trial. We'll time trial it. Level 1, okay. And so you see, this limited use only, okay. Clear 5 lines total. This isn't gonna take, well, I was gonna say this isn't gonna take too long, but it would help if I did it correctly. And so some of the Puyo Puyo games around the time had this as well. Use a line piece to clear one line. Boom. There you go. Use is that L or R? I think it's L. So we need to wait for an L piece to come in. Boom. And here's where I have to admit that I can never remember which is N, which is Z, which is L, which is R. Oh, this'll work. Clear 5 lines total. And so I believe the difficulty in Mission just refers to the complexity of the tasks that they want you to do. Clear the target line. Use a T block to clear a line. This here, this here. Clear 2 lines at once. So yeah, so because we're on level, we're not getting use green thing to clear a line. Oh crud. That would have been it there. One more. Alright. There it is. Two minutes, 13 seconds. Not bad. But there is... We're going to try a variety of modes here, because there is some wacky stuff in this game. Puzzle is real interesting. Because now we have Yoshi's Cookie aesthetic. And so the game is going to automatically choose where these pieces go. All we can do for now is pick the order that they go in. So if we start with this one, like that. Okay, now this piece like this. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, you can play this with the touch screen. This is a DS game. Dry throat. And so these are not random, these are all set patterns. Which means if I really wanted to show off, I could have memorized a bunch of these before streaming, but that's silly. And so, yeah, if we look here, there are 200 of these. Fascinatingly different. So here's Touch Tetris. Tower, Touch Puzzle. We'll do Touch Puzzle. And so this is a Tetris game where you have to use the touch screen. So we're going to grab this piece, move it over here, and then grab it again and move it over here. And unfortunately, oh, got a 2-line chain. Okay, so clear all the below. Okay, so the top there, it tells you what the goal is. So I think if we just grab these and slide them over, the bottom piece will drop into place. And this here's a reset button. So if we move this and go, oh, I changed my mind. No? Okay, never mind. I guess you have to actually mess it up first. Or that's telling me I can't reset. Maybe that's it. Get a 2-line chain. Okay. Now if we back up here, let's... Tower. This is a little more... And so this one is random. So you can just replay this over and over again and get different results. Basically, all we're trying to do here is make the tower fall. And yeah, so this gets complicated pretty fast. But it is fun. Okay, if we drop this in here, and then this down into here, pull that over, that in there. Oh, also I can only touch things on the touchscreen, shockingly enough. Push this over. There we go. Now you go all the way over here. So one thing you've probably noticed is that we very quickly got away from traditional Tetris. And at least for me, that's a bit of a disappointment. But, you know, that's personal taste. Can we cover that? No, we can't. So if we bring this over here, pull this back this way. If we move all of these, and move all of these, drop this in here, drop this over here. Oh, I can... Oh, I feel stupid now. Man, I could be playing a lot more DS games. This thing doesn't show up at all on the stream, does it? No? Okay. Yeah, you don't need to know. That's just back-end stuff that I didn't realize. Drop that. Either way, it's going to simplify a few things if I ever want to play more DS games, which I probably will, because I'm a big fan of this system. Oh, wait, no, we want to put this in here, because that'll go like that. And then... And so I think, you know, I think if you're maybe not super into, like, vanilla Tetris, this is probably a game you might want to check out. Because this is, I mean, it's got vanilla Tetris built in, but this has a lot of just wacky stuff like this in it. And it's quite clever, and it's very creative. And like I said, for me personally, I don't know that this is necessarily my favorite Tetris game, but it is certainly one of the most unique. And they get real excited when you do a chain. Also, having the balloon fight music in the background, mwah, perfect. And again, I'm still trying to click on the top screen here. I never learn. Again, they're still super excited every time I make that happen. I kind of want to move on to other things, but also that box of balloons is real close. We almost got it. Because the goal here, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm pretty confident that I'm not, our goal is to try and get that box to touch the ground. And yeah, I think that's, without a little more planning, I think that's as close as we're gonna get it. Yeah, we're done here. Which is fine. We gotta move on anyway. Okay, and then there's push. Push is real strange. That's... well, versus CPU, that's the only one available. We'll play it on level 1. I haven't played this in ages. At least this one we get to play on the top screen. What in the... Oh, right, okay. So I'm trying to push the stack down towards the other player's screen. Let's T-spin this sucker. T-spin was a little slow to react. So even back in the day, I didn't quite understand this game, truth be told. I know the things in the background are like trying to explain it. I think the gist is that it's better to get lines up here? No? Also, the fun thing about this is because it's on a portable system, if you do play this against another player, you know, they have their own screen, so you both get to be on the top of the board on your own game, so no one has to play upside down Tetris. Good job. He says like as if he didn't do that 3 times already. Anyway, like I said, there's some wacky stuff in this game. I don't want to hang on to too much of it for too long. Catch... Well, I guess since we showed everything else, catch is a whole other thing. Oh, yeah. Again, really digging the Metroid aesthetic here. Is it good or bad if I get those? Okay, that made some stuff explode. Is making stuff explode good or bad? Yeah. Thanks. I'm gonna say it's probably okay. Yeah. Right, okay, so you can sort of grab it from the side. Oh, and you can do this. Weird. We might actually get a clearer line here. Let's hang on. If clearing a line is what you're supposed to be doing, I don't even remember. This is such a weird game. Catch that in there. Okay, I'm starting to think clearing lines is not the point of this. Unless... Nope. Okay, let's just blow up. There, so that's a little bit of everything. I want to play some more Marathon, though, just to kind of bring it back around here. And there, so now... Whew. Lateral movement is okay. So the biggest complaint I have here, mostly, is just how slow the soft drop is, because I rely on that a fair bit. But it does acknowledge back-to-back Tetrises, though. So I think that's... At least out of the games we've played, I think that's the first time they've mentioned that. Another back-to-back Tetris. This one's going to be a tough one to place, because it's got a whole lot of stuff going for it, but I'm not in love with the controls, to be 100% honest with you. Especially after coming right off of Tetris Worlds. I think that game had slightly smoother control than this. But if I'm not mistaken, this is another one of those games where the controls get a little smoother when you speed up a bit. Which is why I kind of want to put it through its paces now that I've been through all the different modes. I'm going to take a little longer on this one than usual. This will give you 6 next windows, and personally I find that to be a lot. I don't feel like that's a necessary number of next windows. Especially for a game with, like, you know, 7-bag piece shuffling. You know, someone's got to clean up all these Tetris blocks when you're done with them. It's the guy who does the piece shoveling. Another thing I'm noticing now that I'm playing this is there seems to be... With the controls in particular, one of the things that keeps happening here is if I'm holding left or right on the D-pad and I immediately switch to up for the hard drop, it doesn't always work. I think the game really wants you to take your thumb off the D-pad first in order to hit up for the hard drop. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm also not a big fan of them putting the playfield on the bottom screen. I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference on emulator, but, you know, when you're playing DS games, in my opinion, it is just a little more comfortable to sort of have your eyes on the top screen while playing. At least for a game like this. If it is something where you are actually, like, tapping the touch screen, then obviously you're gonna want your eyes on the touch screen. So again, another thing you notice right out the gate here is that, as I accidentally demonstrated, the lock delay is no longer infinite. If you do this, or maybe it is. You know what? I might be eating my own words here. Okay, lock delay is still infinite. I don't remember that ever being an issue while I was playing the game, though. Maybe I'd just sort of gotten over it by this point. Who's to say? That's funny. Let me try that again. Does that still work? Oh. Was that too many rotations? Okay, yeah, if you hit up while doing that, I don't know. That is a lot more lock delay than any person needs, even if it is finite. I'm sort of getting a rundown of black box Nintendo games. They acknowledged my T-spin, even though I didn't clear any lines. Different games have different rules on whether or not they'll recognize a move as a T-spin. Oh, we're now up to level 16. So there goes my theory that 15 had become standard at this... I'm gonna have to take that. Hang on just one second. can still hear me. Yeah, even though it's on the pause screen. Hey, Kai Mega. Unfortunately, sometimes my ranking list ends up over top of the chat window. I don't... And yeah, so had to take a phone call. And I was expecting this to end at around level 15 or so. And we're at level 16, it's still going. We're now in the Devil World stage. This is an interesting inclusion for a game that never came stateside until like a couple weeks ago. And everybody's favorite urban champion. At least we eventually get to the good song. Oh, there it is. Level 20. Interesting. Interesting indeed. And so, if I recall... Yeah, okay, so you get credits. And I believe that unlocks Endless. If we go back in here, yeah, you can turn Endless on and off, and you can start from level 20. So you can start at max speed, go forever, line clear, choose the level and height, then battle for the most points by clearing the number of specified lines. The higher the level and the height, the harder it will be. I'm just curious, is this... It is! They brought back Game B! This is something I totally forgot was in here. And this is a curious detail, because it seems like a lot of the Western-developed Tetrises tend to ignore Game B. But the Japanese ones keep bringing it back. At least for the time being. I think maybe they'll stop after this one. But man, at the time, I never played this mode. Forgot this was in here. I suppose it is possible, Kaimega. That's all pretty straightforward. CPU, let's just do this at least once. Okay, I'm on the bottom screen. Well, that was a waste. Oh well. There we go. Yeah, I kind of gunked this up right out the gate. Let's just call that there. Give it a second shot, I suppose. I gotta put this somewhere, I guess. I don't think the game acknowledges combo moves. So like if you get like 5 singles in a row, that would normally be a combo, but I don't think they acknowledge that in this game. But yeah, this seems like pretty standard versus mode. Even if the pieces are drowning in molasses for some reason. There we go. And so that is... Again, and there's multiplayer, there's Wi-Fi. That's pretty much everything you would want in a contemporary Tetris game. So where does it rank? And this is going to be a tough one because, how do I say this politely? I don't think it controls very well. I'm gonna be 100%. You know, it's been a while. I hadn't played it in some time. It is another one of those games that I think controls a little bit tighter once the speed level goes up a bit. But man, it really does just feel like the pieces are underwater. And I remember way, 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 way back in the day commenting on that. This would have been... The game came out in 2006. It probably would have been closer to 2009 when I played it. And even at the time, just thinking like, man, the pieces, like they just feel so slow to move. It's a weirdly sluggish game. And so it puts us in an odd spot where it is one of the most imaginative, unique, aesthetically pleasing, just creative Tetris games, but it doesn't control very well. It feels sluggish to play, and kind of puts... I think it sort of has the same problem as Game Boy Tetris in that respect, in that you know, much like that game was, you know, just very aesthetically pleasing, very creative, very interesting, and didn't control very well. So, And again, when I started this list, the idea was that it was going to weight heavily in favor of controls, because that's the thing I care the most about when playing these games. I just want them to feel good as I play them. But to ignore everything else, it really does this game dirty more than any of the others on this list. Nevertheless, Tetris DS jumps up to number 3 on our list. We now, they said the list scrolls now. And I think that's an entirely fair place to put it. Again, I might have to go back to Super Tetris 2 at some point, and like, is it, like, now that I've gone all the way up here, like, is it still... yes, Kaimega, that was Tetris DS. Obviously by Nintendo. Probably developed by Hudson? Hudson did a lot of pretty good Tetrises around this time. And yeah, there is another Tetris game for the Nintendo DS that we're also going to play, that I've played before on this channel. There it is. Licensed by Nintendo. So this came out in 2010. And this is, how's the audio? Audio still seems okay. I'm gonna turn it down in my headphones though. This is Tetris Party Deluxe. So Tetris Party was a game for WiiWare, if I'm not mistaken. And I played that one a lot. And so yeah, even like the sound effects on this are very similar. You got Tetris for beginners, tutorial, records, options, region ghost. We can turn the ghost piece off if we want. We can set backgrounds and music. Avatar. Male, female, other. Well, we're definitely going other. Music's getting a little chunky. So we got Bomberman. We got Takahashi Meijin. Or, crap, did he have a different name? It was Master Higgins. We got Mylon. I'm just gonna go Rabbit. Music seems to be speeding up and slowing down, but the game is still running fine. Go over here to single player. What do we have for modes? Marathon, computer battle, field climber, shadow, stage racer, sprint, master mode, and bomb bliss mode. So we're definitely going to be playing some master mode before this is all over, because that's my favorite. And here, so we have our list view rules, ghost off, background music. Of course, we're choosing Korobeniki. Background, there's a bunch of different backgrounds you can choose from. I like to keep relatively plain. So we'll go with either none or the first one here, the gears. That's fine. That's not too distracting. And yeah, so... not the most attractive game in the series. I think the blocks are a little small. I find myself straining a bit to look at it, which is unfortunate. I will say the controls are super, super responsive, like, especially compared to Tetris DS, and also Tetris Worlds, which... this does feel a lot snappier than those games. And so yeah, so we're getting... the game acknowledges combos now, which is nice, because if you're... an intermediate Tetris player, and sometimes combos are just a nice way to get a little bit of extra points. It's nice when the game acknowledges that you did something neat. Even though, obviously, like, back-to-back Tetrises and T-spins are where you get the good points. Hey, Levy. So if we just test this again here, you can see. Yeah, see, now we're officially in the era of limited lock delay. So even if you mash that button and spin that piece all you want, it'll only delay it so many times. Which I think is a perfect compromise, because the lock delay is quite useful. But infinite, maybe a little more than you need. Yeah, so same thing, soft drop moves pretty fast. Hard drop is instant. And I think we're at the point now where you can use... maybe not. I know by the time you get to Tetris Effect, you can hit hard drop while the piece is setting in place and it'll lock in place quicker. This might still be before this might still be too early of a game for that. You know, it suddenly occurs to me that I never actually asked you if it's Levi or Levi. I just went with Levi because that's where I put the Chevy. Okay, well, thank you. I'll try to remember that. I'm pretty awful with names. case I had never actually brought it up, it should be said that the reason why lock delay is so valuable in the first place is sort of twofold. Is that one, the game can go as fast as this without necessarily being unplayable. And the other advantage, of course, is that when you're near the top of the screen, you don't have to worry about that, you know, the cascade of failure. You can you have enough wiggle room to pull yourself out of a bad spot. And so, it's good to have because of that. And then, yeah, but if it's, like, completely infinite, maybe that's too much. Computer battle, I believe at this point, yeah, clear lines to send lines. So computer battle is pretty much standard. Field climber is interesting. And instead of endless, it's called Everest. That's pretty cute. I will stick with that. But we are absolutely changing the music back to Koro Beniki. No, I'm good. Okay, so the goal in Field Climber is to get that little dude up to the top of the screen. Thankfully, you can't crush him with the pieces. And this, weirdly enough, has gone back to being a little bit stiff. So he can't get up there because he can't climb 2 spaces at once, so we're gonna drop this here. And thankfully he doesn't fall down. Oh, I killed him. I forgot that you actually can kill him. I literally just said a moment ago, you can't kill him. So we're gonna wait for him to move over here. And okay. Also seems like he won't... Ooh, screwed that up too. That's fine, we'll just start building on the other side here. I think I'm gonna kill him again if I try to put this in here. Nope, nope, he jumped up, okay. The exact controls on this are a little funny. I believe this mode came back in Tetris Axis, but it was like an it used the ARG cards, so you could make like the tower like protrude from like actual things in the room. And there we go. And so it gets a little more complicated as you go. Shadow. What's this one? Oh, I see. Yeah, okay, I got it. So what, oh, and it gives you sort of abstract pieces here, just in case. And so the goal is to try and fill in that shape. Did I already screw myself? I don't think I did, but I'm going to need a very specific piece in order to keep this going. And it is just getting worse as I go. Okay. Oh, I have 10 skips. Okay, I can skip pieces that aren't gonna fit. I've been waiting for this guy, so I can put him down there. Okay, that one's out, but that might not matter too much. Cool. Okay, so that's kind of neat. So it is your time and your percentage. Stage Racer. This is another one I haven't seen in a while. Now, Course J Beginner, Course L Beginner. Let's go Course T Beginner. And so the trick here is that you have to navigate the piece to the bottom, and sometimes that's going to require you to do some spins to sort of nudge it around. Probably not on the beginner course. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Oop. There, alright. And so this makes for actually pretty good, like, T-spin practice. Even if it doesn't really teach you how to set them up, it sort of shows you how to kind of super spin the piece around. There, okay. I do kind of like the training montage music. Oh, these courses are longer than I remember. Oh, here we go. Okay. And so, of course, that doesn't always work because sometimes different games will handle the super spins a little differently, so you can't quite nudge them in every game the same way you can in this one. And then there's the advanced courses, which I imagine are sprint. You already know how sprint works, clear 40 lines as quickly as possible. The one I'm really looking to get into here is Master Mode. This is my favorite of the Tetris modes. I'm going to set the music to that, and set the background. This is probably already set. Okay. And also, no, I think, yeah, it's on the bottom screen, so... So this is going to look a little ugly. But, you know, for our purposes here, it's just a bit easier on my eyes when it's zoomed in like this. And so Master Mode basically starts with the drop speed already maxed out. And the gist of this is, of course, you still have that little bit of lock delay to kind of wiggle the pieces around and sort of nudge them into place. And as this goes on, basically, because the pieces can't possibly move any faster than this, what they start doing is taking away the time that you have to nudge them around. And so what you're left with is just an extremely high-speed Tetris game. Itchy nose. Ah. I do like the way the sound effects change when you get a combo. It doesn't contribute anything to the game necessarily, but it's kind of satisfying. Didn't have enough time to move that line piece into place. Yeah, so you can see how it's starting to... Yeah, the blocks are dropping a little faster. Oof. That may be hard to believe, but this is actually one of the easier master modes in Tetris. The one on Tetris Effect is ridiculous. And if you want to know how I put 300 hours into that game, it's on account of this. Well, there's not much time left to the stream, so I'll just hop into some Bombless. Ghost, background, we'll leave that the way it is. Stage 2. Okay, this is mostly just like the same Bombless game that, from Super Tetris 2 and Bombless. again, with better effects here. Make it a little clearer what's going on. There we go, and that should clear some stuff out. Okay, and we appear to be losing points as we place more blocks. So yeah, so efficiency is still the name of the game here. Ooh. Relax the neck a little. All right. And so that is the last of the Tetris games, well, the last of the vanilla Tetris games that I was able to get running on my old-ass computer. And where does that one rank? Truthfully, it's either number one... well, that'll start next week. We'll be on the chocolate Tetris and the strawberry Tetris and mint. The question is, does this one go number one or number two? Because the early, I mean, the game Tetris originates in 1985, but Game Boy Tetris, which is the first one we played here, was from 1988. So 2008 would have been like the 20th anniversary of that version, and then this is a couple years after that. So at this point, you know, the deck is so heavily stacked in favor of the newer games. So I try to think of them in context rather than just as they exist. And if we do that, I think we have no choice but to conclude Tetris Party Deluxe for DS is number 2. It's a little higher than the WiiWare game that it's based off of, hence the deluxe in the title. It's just got more stuff, more gameplay modes, more features. The one thing the Wii game does have that this doesn't is balance board Tetris, which, that's fun. That's a good time. But also, not long after this, the 3DS came out, and the 3DS had a game called Tetris Axis, also developed by Hudson, and that one just blows everything out of the water. Completely. If I were emulating 3DS games, that one would be number 1 with a bullet, and then it would get surpassed by Tetris Effect. Which, you know, and I say this from time to time, and it is genuinely true. I was very suspicious of Tetris Effect when it first came out. I didn't think it was going to be good. I thought it was just, you know, pretty graphics, the video game, and so that's why everyone loves it, as you do. But it won me over in time. And yeah, is now a personal favorite. Between then and now, there was also Tetris Ultimate, which was the Ubisoft Tetris game. The console version of that was a train wreck. But the portable version, also for 3DS, not bad. It was much more feature complete than the console version. It had a lot more modes. It didn't have any of the weird network issues and like input lag that Tetris really shouldn't have in this day and age. So, yeah, decent 3DS game, terrible, terrible console version. And then there was Puyo Puyo Tetris, which I liked a lot, but not as much as Tetris Effect. And not counting the many, 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 many games that didn't make the list, that takes us pretty much up to today. And so there are some surprises on here, some things I didn't expect. I genuinely did not expect NES and Game Boy Tetris to stay so high on the list for the entire time. I expected to be basically trash-talking Game Boy Tetris from the go, and no, it definitely turned out to be... It held together a lot better than I was expecting it to. So did the NES game. So did Magical Tetris Challenge. I was not I'm still kind of put off by the Disney characters, but I was just really not expecting to like that one. And it's good, it's fine, it's very playable. The games at the bottom of the list are pretty much the ones I expected to be down there. I'm glad Genesis Tetris is not at the bottom. And one last thing, I think I mentioned this before, and I think it merits restating. Better hardware does not make better Tetris. I think that's really... If there's one thing that I was... Yeah, I mean, when I say that, you know, this more recent game is a better Tetris game than this older Tetris game. It's not the age, necessarily. I mean, it is in the sense that we've had... Since 1985, we've had a very long time to, you know, sort of refine the little details. So the newer games do have an advantage in that sense, but they don't have an advantage in terms of better hardware. That doesn't make a difference. It's just all about making sure the fundamentals of the game are as good as they can be. And a lot of what made me initially very suspicious of Tetris Effect was the fact that people just went bonkers over the damn graphics. And I went into it like just expecting it to be awful, because it just... The focus seemed to be on all the wrong things, and I just did not... And honestly, as far as the fundamentals go, I would still say Tetris Axis, probably a smoother gameplay experience, probably a gentler gameplay experience overall. Tetris Effect is a little rough. But it was rough in a very deliberate way, and it just felt like... It felt like a game that wanted you to be better at Tetris. Oh, Tetris 99? Oh god, I forgot all about that for some reason. Tetris 99 is okay. I think as far as like a multiplayer mode, it's I think... probably the best multiplayer you could do in Tetris. I think they took, you know, the standard mode and sort of extrapolated that out to 99 players. I find it a little bit sluggish. I find the controls a little slow, and I suspect that was on purpose to sort of ease the strain on the net code, make the online play sort of a more universal experience, so that it's not quite as dependent on having a high quality connection. That's just a suspicion I have, because I noticed there are similar changes to the controls in like Mario 99 and even in F-Zero 99. That doesn't control exactly the same as the old game did. And yeah, thanks for reminding me. I would have completely forgotten to mention that one. That's a pretty important game. That did something really unique. I didn't care for it in the end. Or, well, I shouldn't say I didn't care for it. I kind of fell off of it. Ultimately, I think I got first place probably a grand total of 5 or 6 times out of 200 matches. That sounds about fair. And yeah, I'm also glad I put a little extra time into the games this week. That's going to run us the full length of the stream. I'm going to have to go make supper pretty soon. That's what the phone call was about. I got to get that stuff ready. And yeah, so thanks for coming by. Thanks, Levi. I'm going to remember how to say your name right. Levi, Mr. Levi, who can't sleep. And thank you, K. Megger. That's sorry. Oof, that. That sounded a little too close to another word. I deeply apologize. It does sound bad out of context. Maybe we'll just trim this part from the VOD. No, that's fine. People need to see me embarrass myself. It's all good. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I'll be back on Tuesday with some more Sigma Star Saga, and see you guys then.